Today we're going to do a 2020 year in review of my audition statistics. So we're going to pull back the curtain, so to speak, and look at my total number of auditions for the year and my total number of bookings and my booking percentage. Then we'll do a comparison to 2019, and we'll also take a look at some of my highlights and lowlights for the entire year of 2020. So let's get started. What's up, my fellow actors? Welcome to the Acting Career Center, here to help you learn the skills you need to break into the film and television industry. My name is Kurt Yu. Thank you so much for spending some time here with me today in 2021. Yeah, this is my first video of the new year, so I'm really excited to be spending it here with you right now. Now, I'm wearing my Cobra Kai t-shirt because I'm celebrating the release of Season 3 back on January 1st on Netflix. Now, I already binged the entire season. I'm sure a lot of you have as well. Now, my character George doesn't show up this season, but if you've been a fan since the beginning, you probably remember my character back in Season 1. I've been such a huge fan of Cobra Kai, and I'm already looking forward to seeing Season 4 whenever that ends up dropping. Now, another reason why I'm wearing this shirt right now is because I recently interviewed my friend Jose Miguel Vasquez, who plays Principal Lopez on Cobra Kai. So look forward to that interview sometime next week. Okay, today we're talking about my audition statistics for 2020. We're going to look at the entire year and my total auditions, my bookings, and my booking percentage, and all of that from January 1st to December 31st of 2020. So let's get right to it. My total number of auditions for 2020 is 74. So 74 auditions from January through December. Now, the number of bookings I had in those 74 is 10, which is a booking percentage of 13.5%. Now, this is actually pretty high for me. My normal booking percentage throughout my career is around 10 to 11%. So 13.5% is a relatively high percentage for me for this year. Now, I know this may come as a surprise to some of you. A lot of newer actors and beginner actors don't expect this. Don't expect to hear that a working actor is only booking 10 to 13% of their auditions. But that is the nature of this industry. In fact, most working actors are booking roughly 10% or less of their auditions. This is something that you're going to have to be prepared for in this industry. You need to be ready for this and expect that 90% of the time, you're not going to be booking the job. Most working actors are booking less than 10% of their auditions. And don't just take my word for it. Take it from Brie Larson, who is a Oscar-winning celebrity actor who is Captain Marvel in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think we all know who Brie Larson is. Brie Larson actually has a YouTube channel. I highly encourage you to follow her on YouTube as well. I'm going to link one of her videos down below, but in one of her videos where she talks about her acting career, she says over her 20-year career, she books less than 10% of her auditions. This is an Oscar-winning actor, guys. This is a celebrity actor who plays Captain Marvel. Everybody knows who she is, and yet she books less than 10% of her auditions. That means 90% of the time, Brie Larson is being told no. So I think it's very important for young actors and newer actors to hear this, not to discourage you. I've said this before in other videos. I'm not saying this to discourage actors. In fact, I'm saying it to encourage you, because when it does happen to you, which it will, you're going to go on 10 auditions and you're not going to book any of them, and you're going to feel down on your luck. But I want you to think back to this and know that a working actor like myself, that an Oscar-winning actor like Brie Larson, that happens to us too. It happens to everyone. We do not book all of our auditions. In fact, we only book about 10% or less of them, okay? So this is really important. This is one of the reasons why I want to pull back the curtain and share my audition statistics so you understand what working actors typically go through. All right, so now let's break down my total auditions into their respective categories for the year. So in film and television, commercials, and all of that. So Out of the 74 auditions that I had in 2020, 39 of them were for television shows, and out of those 39, I booked 4 of them. 18 of the 74 auditions were for movies, and out of the 18, I booked 2 of them. 3 of those 74 were for short films or student films, and out of those 3, I booked 2. And 12 of the 74 were for commercials, and out of the 12, I booked 2. And then 2 of the 74 auditions were for voiceover, and out of those 2, I booked 0. I've never really been a voice actor throughout my career. I've kind of avoided it a little bit. So it hasn't really been my focus, and as you can tell, my agents think so as well. They've only given me 2 voice auditions the entire year. But yeah, so that's the breakdown of my total auditions out of the 74. Those are how they break down, and my bookings throughout each. So now let's take a look at how my total auditions in 2020 compares to my total auditions in 2019, because we all know that 2020 was not a typical year with the whole COVID-19 pandemic shutting everything down for about 4 or 5 months in the film and television industry. So 74 total auditions in 2020. In 2019, I had 123 total auditions. So that's a difference of 49, almost 50 fewer auditions in 2020 than in 2019. But check this out. This is interesting. I had only 12 bookings in 2019, so only 2 more bookings than I did in 2020. 12 bookings out of 123 is a 9.8 percentage, which is more my typical bookings percentage. In 2020, I booked 10 out of the 74, which was higher than normal. But we'll talk about this a little bit later. I didn't end up working on all 10 of those jobs. Okay, before we move on, I want to say that we've talked a lot about auditions, 74 auditions this year, 123 auditions last year. Some of you might be wondering, well, how do I prepare for these auditions? I get so many auditions. What do I do to actually prepare for my auditions? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I've created a 10-step audition preparation cheat sheet that you can download by going to that link right up there. It's absolutely free. So if you're interested in learning how I prepare for my auditions, you can go ahead and download that cheat sheet from my website. All right, now we're going to move on and talk about some of my highlights and lowlights for the year of 2020. Before we get into it, I just want to make sure you understand the 10 bookings that I had in 2020, those have not come out yet. One of the commercials did get released, but of the movies and TV shows and all that, none of those have been released. They will probably be coming out sometime in 2021, so I'll talk about those when they do come out. But in terms of my highlights, I'm going to talk about some of the movies that got released in 2020 that I got a chance to be a part of, and a lot of those, or actually all of those, were filmed prior to 2020. So some in 2019, some even before that. So my first highlight that I want to mention is the movie By Night's End, which came out in October of last year. And this was a movie that I got to play a lead role in. It was my first lead role in a feature film, so it was a huge career highlight to me. So obviously, it was a big highlight of the year as well. Another big highlight was some of the other movies that I got to be a part of. The Netflix movie Holiday, the Disney Plus movie Safety, and then also the movie Greenland, which came out on video on demand very recently, and recently here in the United States. I think it came out way back in August or something worldwide. I also got the chance to go to the Sundance Film Festival back in January of 2020, so almost a year ago now. It was a really, really great experience to go to Sundance. I had a small part in a movie called Beast, which premiered at Sundance. And going to that iconic film festival, spending about a week-ish in Park City, Utah, was really, really cool, really great, a great experience to be there, to experience the film festival, and to also see the city of Park City. The Airbnb that I got with my friends was beautiful, had an amazing view of the mountains surrounding Park City, and I can't wait to do that again sometime. I would have gone back again this year had it not been for the pandemic shutting everything down. Another one of my highlights for 2020 was Cobra Kai. So Cobra Kai dropped its first 2 seasons on Netflix in 2020. Now, a lot of people don't know, but Cobra Kai wasn't originally a Netflix show. It originally debuted on YouTube Premium, which I believe was still called YouTube Red when it first came out there. And YouTube Red didn't really have a ton of subscribers, so a lot of people didn't see Cobra Kai when it first came out. But when they negotiated their deal with Netflix and then it dropped on Netflix in 2020, it all of a sudden got a huge following and the audience grew exponentially. So that was really exciting when it came out on Netflix. A lot more people saw it. A lot more people reached out and told me they saw me on the show. So that was really cool. I also booked my first national commercial in 2020. Now, I've never booked a national commercial before. I know a lot of other actors have, and it's kind of a coveted thing for actors because national commercials tend to pay a lot more. So that hasn't come out yet, so I have no idea what I'm going to end up making from it, but I will hopefully be able to share more about it when it does release on TV. And finally, I did start working with a manager for the first time and a management team in 2020. A few months ago, a manager reached out to me and we had a chat and we've decided that we were going to start working together, and it's been going great so far. I've only worked with agents throughout my career since I started back in 2009. So this was my first time working with a manager, so it's a new experience for me, but it's one of my highlights because it's a step forward in my career. All right, so now let's talk about some of the lows. As I already mentioned, the COVID-19 pandemic shut everything down for a long time. So I had 50 fewer auditions or 49 fewer auditions this year than the year prior because from April to August-ish, for those 4 or 5 months, I only had like 4 or 5 auditions during that entire span. So everything was kind of shut down for a long time. So that was definitely not a great thing that happened this year. There was also another time where I had booked a role and then I didn't end up being able to work on that show because I was trying to negotiate something better. So here's the thing. I actually booked a role on a show in Los Angeles. And it was actually my first booking in Los Angeles. So that was something that was really cool. But I was trying to negotiate for production to pay for my travel and my hotel. Those of you who are newer to the industry, you'll learn that some productions have the budget to pay for actors' travel and their hotel, and other productions don't. And I thought this TV show, which was a popular show, and I thought they would have the budget, and when they said that they wouldn't pay for it, I stood my ground and I said, no, I'm not going to do this show unless you pay for my travel and my hotel. I thought I could kind of strong arm them, and I thought that they would end up budging and pay for it. Well, when I said that, they said, see ya. And they said, we're just going to book another actor. And so that was a learning experience for me too. I thought that I could negotiate that travel, but that travel pay, but I couldn't get it. And that was one of the bookings out of the 10 of the 74 auditions that I booked. That was one of them. So that was one of the jobs that I didn't end up working out of those 10. And there were actually 3 more jobs that I didn't end up working that I did book. And those 3 were jobs that I lost due to the COVID-19 pandemic. One of them was a movie that I booked a role in that was originally slated to shoot in Georgia back in March, but then when everything shut down in March, the production moved the shoot to Canada. And when they moved the shoot to Canada, they ended up releasing all of their local actors that they were going to hire in Georgia, and they hired local actors in Canada instead. So that was a role that I had booked, and I ended up losing because they moved the production due to COVID-19. There was nothing I could do about that. There were 2 other jobs that I ended up not working due to COVID-19. And this one was more voluntary on my part because those jobs were requiring me to travel out of state. And I just didn't feel comfortable traveling at the time of those jobs. And one of them actually was a very, very big role, but ultimately it came down to what I felt was unsafe. I had a gut feeling that it was just not safe, and I trusted my gut, and I turned down 2 bookings because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I didn't want to work in an unsafe environment, or more so, I didn't want to travel in an unsafe environment. There were times where I did feel more comfortable. There was that one job that I had mentioned in another video where I worked in Oklahoma. I did feel comfortable traveling for that one, but there were other times, like these other 2, that I did not feel comfortable. So those were 4 jobs this year that I booked that I didn't end up working. So when I say earlier in the video that I booked 10 out of my 74 auditions, well, I ended up only working on 6 of them. So it wasn't that great of a year for me. I had a really great silver lining to the pandemic in that when everything did shut down and I didn't get any auditions and didn't work for 4 to 5 months, I got a chance to start this YouTube channel. Now, technically, I started the YouTube channel years ago, but I was never consistent with it, and I didn't post a lot of videos. Before 2020, I only had about 10 videos on this channel. But since then, when everything shut down around March or April, I decided I'm going to start making videos again. And now I have close to 70 videos. So that's been a huge silver lining to the shutdown and to the quarantine, is that I've been able to do this, and I've been able to connect with all of you that are watching these videos. So that's been a great part of this year. Okay, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this little peek behind the curtain of my audition statistics for the year. I'm looking forward to doing this again 12 months from now to take a look at everything that happened in 2021. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. And until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and I hope to see you on set one day.